Yeah, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Football Appreciation YouTube channel. Now, the Tottenham managerial carousel keeps on going, and now it looks like Nuno's the favourite to take the job. Obviously, as a Wolves fan, I'm kind of used to Nuno, and it would feel a bit weird. But it's interesting because I know Tottenham have been linked with every manager under the sun, but genuinely, no to Nuno is the number one trending thing on Twitter right now in terms of like the sports thing, and it's genuinely mental to me. Look, I don't. I'm going to explain why I don't think this is a bad appointment. I'll talk about the downsides as well because I'm not going to sit here and act like Nuno's a perfect manager. People like me that have watched him at Wolves at 4 years know the downsides, and I'll speak about them later. But I think there's things to be excited about if you're a Tottenham fan. Obviously it's not. I was doing a video 2 weeks ago about how he was set to join Palace, and I know that's not an attractive thing if you're a Spurs fan. By the way, subscribe to the channel, why not? And like, look, even this Fonseca video I did, it kind of looked like he would be, and it's an absolute mess, and I get it. And going from Conte to Nuno is underwhelming, but I don't think you should get too downbeat on this. Genuinely, I don't. With Nuno, I think there's this reputation that he's kind of just this boring manager who only plays five at the back and isn't adaptable. And I think that's very harsh. If you look at his four jobs he's had in football, Rio Ave, honestly, I have no idea what formation he played at Rio Ave, but he did a good job. Got a minnow club promoted, finished fifth in his first season, got them to two cup finals. That's a good job. Got Valencia top four, got Porto second, and was pretty well liked there. And he's done a great job at Wolves. And at Valencia, he played a back four. He played a 4-3-3. At Porto, he played a 4-4-2, and at Wolves, he's played a three at the back. Came in, played this 3-4-3, pissed the championship. I know it's very easy with hindsight to say we should have won this league, and of course we should have, but no one really thought that at the time. Middlesbrough were the favourites that year, and he did a really good job. And I think when you look at this was the best Wolves side, right? This was the first season of Wolves, and this was when we were in our peak, and this was prime Nuno. And I think if Nuno left Wolves, let's say this was when Mourinho was appointed. Let's say Tottenham had got Nuno then, I feel like Tottenham fans would be a lot happier. And look, obviously, this was our team kind of this season, and it's a clear drop off. Like this defense never got revamped. He kind of just had the same back three, and you could blame the board for that. Same in the midfield. Obviously, losing Jimenez was a blow. Neto's great, Traore's great, but they can't do it on their own. And Wolves fans don't like Semedo and aren't the biggest fans of Ait Nouri, although I like them both. And it was a clear drop off. But I think, look, personally for me, I've done videos on Tottenham before. I think a top, let's just say this is the best Wolves side, right? And let's just say Nuno could recreate this. I think it matches Tottenham pretty well. If Matt Doherty's obviously, I saw people on Twitter speaking about Matt Doherty. He's got a good relationship with him, but this Tottenham squad fits the Nuno this kind of Nuno side very well. You've got your big man in Kane, you've got your second striker in Son. That's very similar to Jota and Jimenez. Lo Celso and Ndombele are 10 times better than Ruben Neves and Jan Coutinho. And that's the one issue with this Wolves side. We didn't really have any ball progression in midfield. It's a very immobile midfield. Højbjerg, Lo Celso and Ndombele is the complete opposite of that. So if anything, it will just get better than this Wolves side. Reguilon's a better player than Johnny. Doherty's obviously Doherty. And I think Joe Rodon's a really good young centre-back. I think Alderweireld's a better centre-back than Connor Cody. And Davinson Sanchez can kind of be your Roman Sace, a bit brain dead but pretty quick. And this matches what Nuno did at Wolves. And look, he could go to Tottenham and play a back four. Who knows? But this isn't like the end of the world for Tottenham. And of course they'll make signings to this as well, I assume. But Nuno, he has a good CV. He's Premier League proven. His style does fit the squad. He's more formationally adaptable than people give him credit for, as I said earlier. And he has a safe pair of hands. He never really let Wolves down. Even when Wolves were on the down, we didn't sack him. He kept us up. And this is the Premier League table from our first season in the Prem, right? Tottenham finished fourth that year. We finished seventh. But if you look at expected points, Tottenham got 61 expected points and overperformed massively. We got 59 and underperformed. So based on expected points, we were basically the same level of side. It's just we were a bit unlucky. And that was I think that was Poch's last season off the top of my head. Then this was the 1920 season. Again, we finished one place below Tottenham, but we had the same amount of points. And based on expected points, Tottenham had 50 expected points to our 63. Again, we were better than Tottenham that year. In our first two seasons under Nuno, where everything was going pretty well, we were basically the same as Tottenham, if not better, in those 2 years, with a way worse squad and way less resources. And yeah, of course, this season we dropped off a bit. Fully acknowledge that. 44 expected points, but Tottenham only had 53. Like, we were only 9 off, and Tottenham had Harry Kane and Heung-min Son having world-class seasons. We had Fabio Silva, who's a kid that was kind of just up there on his own, and an aging midfield and an aging defence, and loads of injuries. So even though we did drop off, we weren't that much worse than Tottenham, and we had a way worse squad. So look, I'm not saying Nuno's a perfect manager, but he did do a good job at Wolves. And look, I mean, let's go on to the downsides, right? Because there obviously are downsides. I think the biggest one's probably the George Mendes thing. The thing is with George Mendes, I have no issue with George Mendes at Wolves. He's done amazing things for Wolves, and I'll never criticise that. But if you're Tottenham, it's a completely different thing, because the reason why George Mendes is so great for us is because he gets us big value assets that we wouldn't have got before. Tottenham, that's not the case. Tottenham are already an attractive club, so they don't really need George Mendes. So it would worry me a bit if I was a Tottenham fan that Paratici's kind of just leaning on George Mendes. That's not really something you want to see. Regarding Harry Kane as well, I'm kind of saying Harry Kane would be a great Raul Jimenez in this sort of team. Nuno's not the type of manager that's going to necessarily attract Harry Kane. And look, I don't think it'll matter. I think they won't sell him anyway, but it's something to acknowledge. Maybe that won't keep Harry Kane. Substitutes were an issue for Nuno as well, even in like the prime Wolves. I'd say this was prime Wolves. He never really used subs properly because he had a very insistency on a small squad, which might actually help Tottenham, because Tottenham aren't the biggest financial club. Daniel Levy doesn't spend, so maybe having quite a small squad, maybe that will help him. But it was a downside, especially when you get a few injuries. Nuno's obsession with a small squad won't help, and I don't think it will work at a big club who have the Conference League. And he doesn't use substitutes very well. It's something that Wolves fans kind of got used to, but it would be a bit concerning, especially when you just had Jose Mourinho. And there are little things as well. Like, I think Nuno, although I don't think he's as bad as people say he is, there is a limit on him. Let's just say this Tottenham team does work out and play well. I still think there's a very limited ceiling on it. Like, Nuno's never going to win you the league. He might keep you pretty stable in the top 4. Let's just say this works out, and this Wolves side I was speaking about kind of gets mapped onto the Tottenham side, and Tottenham finish top 4. I still can't ever see Nuno winning the league. So it kind of has its cap, right? And he's not great with the media either. I don't think anyone really cares about that, but it's something to acknowledge. But overall, I don't think this is a bad... when you go on Twitter and see people saying no to Nuno, and I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. When you look at the Tottenham managers they've been linked with, I think this is probably one of the better appointments you could have got, personally. Obviously, Conte and Poch and that, I'm ignoring them, but Gattuso, Fonseca, Graham Potter, is he any worse than any of them? I don't think he is. And assuming he gets it right, gets backed, and kind of builds this Wolves team again with better players, there's no reason why it won't work out. But yeah, let me know what you think. If you're a Tottenham fan and you have any questions about Nuno or anything that I haven't covered in this video, let me know. I'll answer them, or I'm sure any Wolves fans answering will happily answer your questions if you have any about Nuno. Subscribe to the channel, nearly at 300. Like the video. Comment below, and yeah, peace.